welcome to the channel. So as you can see by the title of the video, it is going to be a full review after approximately 400 miles on the Lone Peak 5. I've basically put it through its paces, all sorts of conditions, trails, mud, road, fields, everything, and I'm basically now going to sort of discuss in detail all the good stuff, maybe one or two bad points, but most importantly the durability and the longevity of the shoe, which I know that Altra's had a real issue in the past, but I think they might have this one okay. Okay, so as I said, 400 plus miles in this shoe here, and as you can see, the outsole, the Max Track outsole, is still holding up really well. It's still grippy, it's not really worn, the grips, the lugs, they're all still pretty much in good condition. And admittedly, I haven't done too much on the road. Obviously, this is a trail shoe, which keeps the durability and the longevity in the tread much more. But as you can see here, it's still looking good. So in regards to the Max Track outsole, I've got to be honest, it's not the most grippy shoe. There is a bit of slippage here, but you know, there's not the only sort of shoe that really works in the wet for me is the King MT. That's the one that's got the sort of nice deep lugs. The rest, just if it's wet and muddy, you just got to deal with it. But it works, you know, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. If I'm finding it good enough traction, and actually, as you can see, it's still okay. Okay, so going up from the outsole into that midsole. This is the Ego midsole, 25 mil stack. Obviously, it's zero drop from heel to toe because that's what all Altras are. And I've got to say, I can put the shoe down now. I've got to say, it's working really well. It's that Ego midsole is still bouncy. It's still got a good cushion. I think with these shoes here, what's taken me a long time to really work out is how I think you've got to give it time, because your foot has to strengthen in order to sort of really work with these shoes that well. Because unlike the Hokas or the Nikes, whatever, there isn't much energy return, there isn't much huge bounce back. There's a lot more ground feel, and it's a much sort of denser midsole, which I actually, personally, I really like. It just allows your foot to do a lot more work. It allows, you know, it just feels much more natural, and again, that better connection with the ground. But in regards to the comfort and protection, it's still holding up really well after sort of 400 plus miles. So I've got to say, midsole still working well. Okay, then going up into the upper, the only tiny little snag I have is you can just see there a little bit of stitching just coming out of that side just there, which really isn't a big deal at all. The rest is all very much still nicely intact all the way around. There's no stitching pulling out here. The overlays are still intact. It's all still holding it really well, and I've got this shoe really wet, soaking, and it's dry. It's been going wet and hot and cold in all sorts of different conditions, rough, sand, fields, muds, etc. And it just dries off nicely and doesn't weaken the material inside. Unlike, I think, the Timp, for instance, I think the material there was weakened by those sort of difference of the getting wet and dry, and it would stretch out. But this is still holding up really well after that sort of, you know, after that amount of mileage I've put into it. Toe box nicely up here front here. There's no pulling here either. So yeah, it's all still working really well. The upper, spot on. So in regards to the comfort of the upper, this is still nice and soft and padded around the sides, around the ankle, and it still has a really lovely secure fit. And in fact, I've just now got really used to that nice swoopy motion, and it just sort of loops in there, and it just sucks around your ankle nicely. This sits nicely on the top of your foot. I've never had any pressure pinching down from the laces that when I tie up. So this is all still working really comfortably. It's a nice clean wrap around the foot. And yeah, I can't say anything. Laces are actually really good. They're still holding up really well. They're the perfect length. Sometimes it can be too long or too short. These ones are pretty much spot on. So yeah, all good there. So all in all, the durability of the shoe's been great. You know, we're holding up now, and it's still is protective, it's still as cushioned, the upper's still working nicely, the toe cap, the bumpers. So after 400 plus miles, I've got to say I'm really impressed with how this shoe has fared up, especially compared to other shoes that I've had. The Timp blew up after 150 miles, the Olympus, slightly worn, but not as bad. But yeah, I've got to say I'm very impressed. And the overall feel of the shoe, I have to say, is great. It has a really lovely weight distribution. It's weird, it's taken me a long time to get to the shoe. I mean, I had the 4.5, I had the 4, I also had the 3 or whatever it was, the 3.5. They were a bit clunkier, a bit more sort of cushioned. They've sort of now minimalized that cushion down to 25 mil, and it's given a bit more I don't know, sort of barefoot-esque style feel, where you just feel slightly more natural. And again, that zero drop in the wide space up front is great. I will say the only gripes I do have about the shoe is that it could be just a fraction wider up front here. I noticed that when I wear thicker socks, I just feel a little bit tight, but it's really not the end of the world because there's enough toe splay up here, which is really helps. But the grip could be a little bit grippier, a bit better, but as I said before, it's no biggie. I mean, I've used this now, as you see, I've used it in the woods, I've used it on fields, in mud. Yesterday on a long 20k trail ride, it got soaking wet, and I've got to admit, it dries pretty quickly. It's good drainage, unlike the obviously the Lone Peak 5 all weather, which is very good to keep the water out. Unfortunately, when you get the water out in that, it will then, if you get the water in that, it kind of stays in that because of that sort of waterproof membrane. So this does dry quite quickly, which is great. So there we have it, that's the review. 400 miles, still working really well. Protection, comfort, midsole, uppers, all really good. I've got to say, I'm very impressed, much more so than the other shoes like the Timber, whatever. I am very intrigued to try out the Altra Lone Peak 5 in wide, just to see if it is a little bit wider, but barring that, it's a great shoe. I really love the shoe. It offers me everything that I need, and it even works, as you can see here, nicely on road. You know, just sort of, if you have to go along a road, whatever, it's got a nice sort of, there's enough cushion there to handle pretty much anything. So please leave any comments below if you have also had great success with the Lone Peak 5, if you haven't, whether you think it's not a great version, whether you prefer the 3 or the 4 or the 4.5. I know that Altra's, there's a lot of, people have become very annoyed with the company in regards to the last few years because things have tapered in and narrowed quite a bit. But I still think the LP5 is good and working really well, and they have the durability is okay. It seems to be spot on. I have not had any issues so far with it, and it's holding up really well. So also, if anyone's got the Lone Peak 5 in wide, I'll be really intrigued to see if it is any wider, or whether that's just the material that's wider, which I think it is. It's quite hard to find out. Anywho, hope that helps. As I said, please leave comments below. And yeah, I've got to say, very impressed. It seems to be a pretty good shoe. Right, that's it from me. Thanks for watching. And if you haven't already, please do click that like and subscribe button. It's really much appreciated. I'm going to start to get back onto the reviews a bit more. I've sort of gone off track into a few other tangents, but I think I want to sort of offer a bit of a service here. So I'm going to get back on the reviews of all sorts and some other training methods and other ideas that I have. In fact, also, I have a t-shirt idea too, which I might see what you think about that. But anyway, that's a different story. Right, as I said, thanks very much for watching. Take care. See you soon. Bye.